Welcome back, Band-Aid, and anybody else that's using this as a video for reference. So, what I am trying to do in here is we are now at the second boss of a normal VOS run, tanking on a fighter. So this is continuing the third part of the series. So we've already seen the first boss, and we've already seen the stage in between the first and second boss in terms of the mobs. So now we are at the second boss, and we're going to go on over just basically what is happening inside of this dungeon here. So one of the things that I moved on over is I went from Vortex ability, which basically pulls all the mobs together to one spot so that our DPS can do better AoE damage to them, and moved on to something that does a debuff and a buff effectively of the boss. So we take less damage with this Eclipse armament power, and we also do more damage to the boss. So those are two very good benefits. Highly recommend that one in here. I also moved to Wyvern Coated Knives in this part, and so that is something that's going to help, at least for me, in here. And let's continue moving on forward. So, and this is a fairly good DPS group in here, so I shouldn't see that. So, one of the things to stop, I'm going to go and do a few things here. So, in terms of positioning, we want to be on the opposite side of the boss so that we can make sure that we have full combat advantage to everybody. And we also want to not move that much. So this is a single target boss fight, and we want to be able to stand still as much as possible to be able to give our DPS the ability to put themselves in a very good position, as well as if we stand in a very simple standalone position, what it'll allow the DPS to do is they don't have to run willy-nilly all over the place and be out of control and effectively potentially put themselves in a dangerous position and theoretically die because of the fact that we have more or less decided to run the boss all willy-nilly all over the place. So that's one of the things that we're trying to do here. We're going to try to give combat advantage. The thing that you want to make sure that you do in these situations as the tank, you want to get the first hit in. You don't want your DPS to get the first hit in, because the first hit gives primary threat on that target, and when you're trying to take threat, it takes much more to take it from that target than it does to just be the original person that gets threat. So that's something to think about when we're trying to go on in here. So we're trying to get the first hit in on this boss. We're also trying to give combat advantage and position the boss into a nice position. Two things: if you have something that you can throw at the boss, then you can throw it at the boss and stand back towards where we started at. I, on the other hand, really outside of the Hawk, my number 5 key, there's pretty much nothing on here that's going to be something that I can throw, and the Hawk doesn't give me threat and is a low amount of damage just by itself without combat advantage, so I'm not really going to try to throw that at the very beginning. So I'm just going to Threatening Rush on up, come on over here, go to the opposite side, use some abilities that are going to put me towards the top of the aggro chain, use my daily. I've got an ability that gives me aggro after I use my daily, because it's going to basically, the next hit is going to do 50% of my HP bar. I believe on this tune I have a little bit over 1.1 million HP, so it's basically 550 million. It's going to be the highest damage hit that I can do pretty much to the boss, and that will for most intents and purposes, guarantee me keeping aggro at this point in time on in here. And so let's play a little bit on. If you're at full stamina, this right here is usually a very, very big hit. So as a tank, you really don't want to tank this big hit, which will basically deplete most of my stamina bar, as well as the follow-up hits from the boss. So after every one of these big hits right here, the boss does a few follow-up hits that are fairly decent in size, very similar to Hallister and Tom, and a few other bosses that are set up that way. So this boss is probably a very good boss to do some training on if you're a tank for Tom and Zariel Master basics, if you don't want to have to go on into those types of things. So we'll continue here. I'm going to basically use my tab ability, which makes it so that I take a lot less damage from that, and that helps quite a bit. And here we go. And it's just keeping aggro. For some reason, I ended up with all of the parts on me. One of the things here, and I'll go back just for a second, is that this circle, you want to make sure that you are inside of it. If anybody is outside of this circle, everybody gets put into ice, and that will more or less kill this run if anybody is outside of the circle, because it's going to put everybody in ice, and that instantly kills everybody and wipes the party in most circumstances. Sometimes a companion will break you on out in time, but don't hold your breath to make sure that that's going to be the situation on every single time. So everybody needs to be in the circle. That needs to be your primary thing that you're going to do in here as a DPS. So if you're outside and you're on over here, or you want to be ranged and you want to be far away, and I've seen this numerous times, and the person just is far away and then doesn't understand why everybody's in ice after this mechanic goes off. But everybody here, I believe, has done a really good job of making sure they're in there. Now, one person after this is going to be put with this effect. You want this to be moved really somewhere out in the middle here. So you'll stand by yourself. Nobody else should be inside the radius of this circle. Anybody that is going to be turned into an icicle, and someone else has to break you out, or you're dead. You take 5 debuffed stacks and you're dead and out of the fight if you die from that effect. So should be at this point in time backing up a little bit. Band-Aid moves that away. Move on out, and there we go. In here, one of the things you may want to be aware of, and I've been killed sometimes, is if you are using the Knight's challenge and you take damage for someone else, even though you are getting the aggro from them, and that's a very nice effect for one person, I've had times where someone can kill me. So just be aware that's there. So this one, you can see 2 people were inside that circle, and you had both of them get the ice effect on them. So they both turned into icicles. So the other thing that I'm trying to do here, you'll notice that these effects always get directed at the tank. So one of the best ways to do it is set yourself as the tank towards the outside. If you are tanking and you're towards the inside of this, all of these are going to cover the entire arena. You don't want to have that. People can't really get in the middle of them. You're more than likely going to cause a lot of chaos and a lot of deaths if you are pushing these AoE effects to go across the entire arena. So try to position yourself to where they're going outside, and as the tank, try to move in between these. If you can't, this class has the ability to hit our tab power, go down, and sometimes, if you have enough HP and enough stats and you're built correctly, you'll be able to survive. If you're not, you're gonna struggle. So move to a different point, and now it's just continually keeping the boss pointed out for all the different effects. In this one, we just want everybody to move in together, and right here everybody stays stacked until all of these go away, so that we don't move it too far. We're going to stack together here again and then move together as well. And then this one, everybody has to get into the circle. Be careful here. I know some people will see red all over the floor there. The primary position right on this other one, and I'll go back to it. The primary thing that you have to do here is you need to make sure that you are inside of this little circle here. You'll have a short period of time, if you want to dodge off of either one of these two AoEs that are happening here. Or you can get in this little sliver of thing right here, or move back to the back side of the boss if there is enough room. So if the tank didn't move him far enough and you're still stuck on one of these, you're probably going to wipe as a party. But the main mechanic is be inside this little tiny circle. That is something that you have to do. If you're not inside that little tiny circle, then what is going to end up happening is everybody's going to get the ice on them, and that is more likely to fail your entire group. If you all get hit by the red, someone can scroll and you can continue on through here, unless this is a hardcore VOS. So we'll just continue on from this. I should move out a little bit more to get a little bit more space. Aaliyah is going to move that, and there's still some room there. And again, I really should have moved everybody a little bit further out so they're not so close to the ice. But everything worked out okay there, and we're going to go forward, and that's the end of this fight. And so thanks for watching, and hopefully this helped you out a little bit.